have to give him a little kibble for that. Thank you very much. I am so humbled to be able to speak to you today. This was the last place I ever expected to be in my life. At the age of 55, which was 8 years ago, do the math, I woke up on a Monday morning, April 13th, with extremely cloudy vision. Bright lights hurt my eye. And I knew there was a major problem. I had a severe headache. So I told my wife, I said, I think I need new glasses. And I actually called my optometrist, got in my car, drove to the optometrist, didn't hit anything, thank goodness. Took the eye exam, and within about 20 minutes, the doctor told me that there was a real issue, that I needed to see an ophthalmologist, and that he was going to make an appointment for me that day to see somebody. Went to the ophthalmologist. My wife drove me, you'll be glad to hear. They did some tests, and the optic nerve, which you all know is really the conduit from your brain to your eye, was bleeding out. So he suggested I get in to see a neuro-ophthalmologist at UCSF. We were working with our physician plan at that time. It took us 3 or 4 days to get a referral. And what we didn't know was kind of time was of the essence at that point. Took us about a week to get in to see the neuro-ophthalmologist. Got in, and within half an hour, he told me I had a rare eye disease, that there was no treatment for it, and that they wouldn't really know how blind I would be for about 18 months. Yeah, so, but go on home and come back in 2 weeks. So that's what I did. And you know, I continued to drive for those 2 weeks. One Saturday, I drove down to get some filters for our pool system, and I ran over to the island downtown. Sorry, you wouldn't think it would bother you running over an island, but I knew right then that my driving days were over. Called my wife, and she came and got me, and I said, don't give me the keys again. Went back to the doctor, the neuro-ophthalmologist 2 weeks later, and not only could I not see any letters on the eye chart, I couldn't see the eye chart itself. I didn't know where it was. So he said, well, come back in 6 months and we'll see how you're doing. And also said, what you might want to do is go get a CAT scan to see if you have MS. And also have a biopsy done on your the artery right here in your brain. And he scheduled that, and so I went in, did that, went in and had the MRI for the MS, and it came back positive. So, all of a sudden your life is just upside down. And you don't really know who to call or where to go. My wife was doing everything she could. My daughter was in her senior year up in Seattle. She'd be graduating in a month and a half, so we didn't tell her. My son was in his senior year in high school, so he saw what was going on every day. You'll be glad to know I had to go get a spinal tap in it came back negative for MS, so. Okay, some good news, you know. But what I didn't know what to do was how to deal with this blindness. And so I basically went into our master bedroom, pulled the shades because of the light, and I just laid there. And I laid there for about 30 days. Getting very little sleep, doing a lot of praying. And I told my wife I had decided to go ahead and end my life because I didn't want to be a burden to my family. At the same time, my wife wanted to get a new family physician for us. We weren't really satisfied with the family physician we had. So our next door neighbor was a doctor. And I said, why don't you go over and ask Alan? And so she did, and Alan said, what's going on, Ann? I haven't seen Tom. And she told him that I had come up with a date in July that I was going to end my life. And he said, Andrew, you know what kind of doctor I am? And she said, no. He said, I'm a trauma psychologist. That's God speaking to you, okay? Alan followed Andrew over to the house. And for, I would say, close to a year, he came to the house every night at 5 o'clock. And we would sit and talk. And you know, he told me the real burden of my family would be if I was now known as the father or cousin or uncle or grandfather that committed suicide. That would be the burden that they would carry. And he was right. We worked together. He got us a new family physician. His name is Dr. Mark Musco. Mark's here today. Thank you. When I first met Mark, I went into his office and I was sitting down and he said to me, Tom, how blind are you? And I said, well, I don't really know what you mean by that. He said, well, I'm about 6'3", blonde hair, blue eyes. So Mark, I know that wasn't true, okay? But in my eyes, you're 10 feet tall, okay? And Mark and Dr. Alan Brass, they're two of my heroes, okay? I didn't have heroes growing up, and suddenly I had two heroes. You know, Mark worked on me physically, Alan worked on me mentally, and I started doing something crazy. I just started walking. I didn't have a cane, I didn't have a dog, and I would just walk. And at the end of the day, if I found my way back home, great. If not, I'd call my wife and try to give her a direction where I was. She convinced me after probably 6 months of doing this that if I do nothing else, let's get a cane, okay? To at least let people know that you have a vision problem. So we went online, we didn't know where to get a cane, and we ordered a cane, and I used it for about a year, and then we heard of mobility training. So we called somebody, and they came over for mobility training, and she said, I have a cane for you, you know. I said, it's okay, I've got one, you know. And she says, can I see it? And I pulled it out. She says, Tom, that's a child's cane. I had about a 3-foot cane. And what I needed was about a 5-foot cane. So she got me squared away on the cane side. And, you know, what happened from there on out was people just kept coming into my lives that made a difference. My best friend, Mike McSweeney's here today, and Mike just continued to encourage me to take me out, play golf, to do whatever I wanted to do. My other good friend, Carrie Atkinson, is here today. And Carrie just kept in touch and they wouldn't let me get down. They just kept encouraging me. My wife and Mike's wife, Nancy, decided it would probably be a good thing if I had maybe a guide dog. So they went ahead and applied without me knowing about it. And, suddenly I get a phone call from Gary Powers, and Gary says, Tom, I'm gonna come out to your house and we're gonna see if you're eligible for a guide dog. Yes. And I said, a guide dog? Yeah, we'll be there next Wednesday. Okay, great. So then I asked my wife, so how'd they find out about me? So Gary came out and said that I would qualify, and one of the things I had lost my fingers on my left hand in an industrial accident in the 70s. So now all dogs are trained on the left side. Now I had to have a dog that would be trained on the right. So another challenge, but not for me, for guide dogs. And so when I was called in December 2012 that they had a dog for me and could I be there in January for my training, I said, sure. And I was mildly optimistic that this would work. I couldn't quite figure out what a dog would do for me. I'm walking 40, 50 miles. I'm kind of a walking Band-Aid commercial, but no big deal, So I get there on Sunday, and on Monday I meet Dynamo, and I'm kind of looking toward him, he's looking at me, and he didn't bring any beer with him or anything. I'm thinking, how are we going to hit it off here? But so we spent the day together on Monday, did some training in the afternoon, and then went and did some training on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we went out for training in the morning, and I did terribly, just terribly. So we went back to campus, had lunch, and went back out in the afternoon, and I said, okay, we'll do it right. It wasn't we, it was me. He was doing everything right. I wasn't. He's showing you his good side right now. I can't tell you how many times he's heard this speech, okay? So he's pretty bored by the whole thing. So Wednesday afternoon, we went back out, and I did even worse. And so we were coming back in the van, and the lady that was in the van with me, who was getting like her 5th or 6th guide dog, Dynamo's my first. We stopped at a grocery store. She needed to get something, and there were 2 trainers in there. Janai Garcia, who's here today. And Jessica Drew, who could not make it. Both these women are my heroes, okay? Heroes are just stacking up for me. We stopped on the way back, and Janai went into the store with the other lady, and Jessica asked me if I was okay. And I told her no, that I was worried that I was blowing this opportunity because I had done so bad that day. And look, I want to win at everything, at any cost, okay? And I just didn't know what to do. And she said to me, Tom, you're the only person here that's getting a dog for the first time. Everybody else here is getting their 4th, 5th, 6th dog. But every one of them are going to have a bad day. You're just having yours today. And then she said, but let me tell you what you're doing right. And she wouldn't let me dwell on it. So the next morning we got up, and I said, Dynamo, let's go kick some butt. And that's what we did. And I think that I needed to hit that low point with him for him to then say, okay, let me show you what you're supposed to do. And you know, that's really what happened at Guide Dogs. I mean, everybody there just encouraged you. They couldn't do enough for you. You went there not having to worry about anything, your food, whether your bed was made, or, it just didn't matter, there was a place to work out, you could just kind of chill out when you weren't working, and you did, because it's a lot of work learning to be with a guide. So, as I said at my graduation, I've had 3 great gifts in my life. Well, 4, I'm sorry. The wedding of my wife and marrying her, the birth of my 2 children, and the gift of Dynamo. He's also one of my big heroes now, okay? And I'm going to do something out of the ordinary here. I'd like each of you to shake hands with the person next to you, if you would. What you have just done is shaking hands with a hero. Because of the support you give GDB, whether it's through your time or your finances or just your giving. I can't thank you enough. God bless you all, and happy holidays.